do some celebrity couples just make you almost inexplicably mad? And what are we talking about? Well, Olivia Wilde is speaking out. She talked about why she thinks that people were so angry about the 10-year age gap that existed when she was dating her ex, Harry Styles. So listen to what she had to say on the Call Her Daddy podcast. Okay, so why do you think this 10-year age gap upset so many people? Why?
Listen,
Why?
I think she actually even mentions it in her answer. It's that parasocial relationship we have with a celebrity that we have a crush on. And I'm going to be very honest, because that's what we do here on The Social. I would have probably, if I was younger, sided with the Harry Styles fans. Because when I was younger, I had a crush on a singer. I don't know if you guys have heard of Michael Jackson. And in my silly little head, I thought we were gonna get married, but I didn't really think we were gonna get married. But I did have an unconscious thought about who he should marry, what she should look like, how much money she should have, and even down to what color skin she should have. Like, I'm being 100% honest. So I understand that kind of pushback, because I would have been the same way. But if you think about it and take it out of the celebrity realm, we all kind of do this. Whether it's to our friends, parents do to their children, siblings doing it to each other, which is we have an unconscious thought about who our family member or friend should be with. And when it doesn't match up with what we have in our head, we push back, some harder than others. So I think this is something we are all guilty of. I just think that the rabid fans are way more vocal, and there's a comment section for them to really attack. But no young girl is thinking, oh, this is what I want for him. And unfortunately, it's nobody's business but Harry's, who he falls in love with. But that's where it comes from. I would have been guilty of that.
But I think there's something else too. I feel like there's definitely a double standard here, because it's often expected that a man, or those who identify, would be dating somebody who would be younger than them.
Yeah.
And I have a different situation. Like, my partner's 14 years older than I.
All right, girl.
Yeah.
All right.
Silver fox.
We're not mad at it.
So I wonder, though, right, if it's this whole, A, double standard, B, here's another question, throwing it out there. If Olivia were to say, oh, I'm having a baby, would everyone be like, oh, we're so happy for you now, because now you haven't taken him out of the dating pool. Now he's actually fully committed to you in this whole other way.
That's a good
That's
question.
interesting. I think people would have been just as mad as she ended up
think so?
pregnant.
Yeah,
I do.
okay.
I think maybe more so.
Angrier.
And I think it actually has less to do with the age gap than it does to do with the fact that, like, she hints at the parasocial relationship. I think that people don't like the way they got together. The fact that she was the director of this movie. What was it called? It was called, doesn't matter. Don't Worry, Darling is what it was called. And she was the director. And so technically, she was the boss on this set. She was married to Jason Sudeikis. People loved him from Ted Lasso. They have children together. I think that kind of situation of getting together, was there some carryover? That bugged people. And then in a way, this is just a tale as old as time. You think about rock stars who their partners have been hated. I think of Courtney Love. I think about Yoko Ono. I think about Sharon Osbourne. I mean, I could go on and on. We have this thing, and I think it's coming from female fans, although not entirely. I think some male fans as well, maybe not with Harry Styles, have a lot of opinions when it comes to who people are with.
Yeah,
Who they're with.
Yeah.
Speaking of Harry, Ashton and Demi.
Oh, that was age
Listen.
too.
that age difference. People
Aaron
did not
Taylor
like
Johnson
that.
and his wife. Listen, the misogyny is always there. Trust. You don't have to look too far. That's for sure. I just want to poke at Harry for a second, because, like, who's choosing these people that he's dating? He is. And it turns out. So I know the fans, we love him. We love him from One Direction. And for all the reasons you said, Andrea, you kind of grow up with this fantasy in your head. But also, he's been telling us since he was young, he likes to date older women. He's told us so. He was 18 years old and said the only woman that would be too old for him to date would be his own mother. He said that. And
Harry,
then take a look at
I'm
his
right
old...
here. Harry, I've been here the whole time.
Like, he loves older women. And then take a look at his track record. Not only Olivia Wilde, there was a TV presenter by the name of Caroline Flack, who has since passed. She was 31 and he was 17. Okay?
Oy,
He
yeah.
likes older
That
women.
didn't get a lot of attention.
No? Oh, well,
No.
in Britain it did.
In Britain
Oh,
it
yeah.
did.
She was a presenter, part of X Factor. Did you know that Nicole Scherzinger and him had a fling? Right? And she's at least 15 years older. So I'm not going to say, like, why are we poking at the women? But why are we poking at the women? Harry is choosing who he's dating, so look at Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, all of that is rational thought, but when you're a young
Rational.
girl and you have a crush, rational thoughts do not exist. All right, so let's move on to our next topic. How's this for a relationship problem? A man wrote to Dear Prudence saying his wife is cooler and more interesting than he is, and people naturally gravitate towards her in social settings. Now, he says he's starting to feel jealous of her. So, the question, would you view having a more interesting partner as a problem? Kluane, talk to me.
I have no. Let's be clear. First of all, that guy needs to either like get on the train or get out because
Yeah.
there's just no time for that. There's no time for that. As if. How do you have a partnership with somebody who is jealous of your success?
Yeah,
That cannot work.
I'll be honest. Okay, so it sounds like in this case they moved to a new city, and it seems like all the people are very interested in his partner. Again,
A city she used to live in and she has connections
There
in.
you go.
So I think it's not that they're just moving to a new city. She used to live there.
Yeah.
And is he feeling a little fish out of water?
Exactly. So there's elements to this, but I will say that I once met this person who was in a partnership, and he was like one of the. You remember that commercials where it was like the most interesting man on the
Oh my
world,
God,
right? It was like a beer
yeah.
commercial, and he was like that. He like had a pilot's license. He supposedly was a chef. He had like like all these. Like, he was a filmmaker. Traveled the world. Like, all these different things. But then there's a certain point where you're just like, is it just a bunch of hobbies? And maybe the person underneath that isn't that actually interesting. After all, so it's in the line.
Who defines interesting? Like, that's your opinion. So if you're saying, oh, well, I think that, everyone thinks my wife is so interesting based on what he is thinking, then that's a him thing.
I think,
Absolutely.
I love that you say that it is a he thing. Like, tell me you're insecure without telling me you're insecure.
Yeah.
And I think that I will caution him. I think that it's so easy when you'll have discomfort in your life to blame other people for it. And I think in this case, what he should probably wake up to is he's probably not really happy with his own life. And so he takes it out on, everyone loves my wife. She's so interesting. And I will caution him that you're okay to have a pity party for a minute. Just for a minute. But then what I would probably say to him is if you want to stay interesting to your wife, then get interesting for yourself. Go find your hobbies. Go find friends. Go do things. Stop blaming your wife. It's not her fault because, bro, wouldn't it be great if both of you were so interested?
I know. But here's the deal. I think we've made the point. This is more of a him problem, and you guys are being very nice. This is my living nightmare as a person who is dating, that you would find somebody and that this would be their issue, that they're upset with you because you're engaging when you're out socially. Tell me, this is the type of thing where I'm like, write this down on a piece of paper, fold it up, put it in your pocket, and take it to your therapist's office and talk to them about it. And this is actually something I've been warned about. That I've been warned by so many aunties. They always said, the thing they love you for in the beginning is the thing that will hate you for in the end. And I see a lot of women nodding their head. And this is such a horrible thing for him to be like, you're upset. I think he needs to say it out loud to a room full of people so he can hear how ridiculous it is. You're upset because your wife is interesting. Boy, you've got some first world problems.
Would you give money to help someone pay their rent or buy groceries? Well, according to GoFundMe, more than 15,000 fundraisers for essential needs were started across Canada between January and May 2026, and that's an 8% jump from the year before. So what do we think about this rise in people crowdfunding for themselves for basic needs?
I gotta say, audience, I'm very surprised by your response. I think we gotta unpack that a little bit. We are in a cost of living crisis. And yet we always preach about helping thy neighbor. So I think, are we uncomfortable with people asking for it? Is that why? Because that's what I really kind of want to dive into. I think for me, it's a tale as old as time where we look at people who are struggling and we have a widening income and wealth gap happening across the world, certainly here in Canada. And we're always so quick to judge or maybe criticize the most vulnerable who are needing help. The guy in this story said he has been unemployed for 8 months. He's been looking. It's not like he's sitting at home twiddling his thumbs. He is on EI. He's one step away from being homeless. This is a guy who's trying his hardest to avoid being on the street, and he started a GoFundMe page just to be able to pay rent. So some people might judge that or that he's asking, and yet we are also living in a world where billionaires are hoarding money at the top. They are hoarding more money, and we always ask, why do the most vulnerable need more? Well, why don't we ask, why do billionaires never seem to have enough?
I'm curious, Kluane, what's your thought about this?
This is a tough one for me. Like, I know, at home we'll see a whole bunch of things happen for people who need support for funerals or for travel. So coming from Whitehorse down to Vancouver, and you need a travel support, and that may not be covered. So there's a lot of different sort of crowdfunding, if you will, that I see in the North. But I do think there has to be space for finding a way to support people who are in these sort of like dire situations. I mean, you look at homelessness and poverty in this country, and as you mentioned, like, things aren't going down, things are on the rise and at a rapid rate. And so, like, if that person then gets evicted, then they're in a situation where they're moving into a situation of not actually having a home. And so are we not willing to put the $20 in? But then at the same time, also acknowledge our own positions, right? The privilege that we may have. Like, I come from my partner works full-time, I'm working full-time-ish, I'm a consultant, but it's a bit different. But I also come from, a single parent reality where, like, if we were in that situation, I don't think my mom would necessarily have done that. I don't know.
Crowdfunding?
I don't know that she would have done it.
But why?
Because I don't know. I don't know if she would have been comfortable with doing that. The pride part of it. But if I knew, like, I've had family members where, like, I knew they needed support and, like, I was going to give it to them, right?
Yeah.
Is it always about money, though? Is it about other ways you can support? Like, is it about helping take the kids? Is it about dropping off some groceries? Like, I also feel like there's other ways that you can support. It's not always about money.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, okay, so Mel, you talked about it. I was very surprised, and I thought that everybody was going to side with you and what you had to say about this topic, and I thought I was going to be the bad guy, but then all of you guys kind of had that, like, yeah, no, we're not feeling it, and it's not a popular opinion, and I hate that I feel this way, but it is my truth, so I'm going to say it. There's a skepticism when I see someone crowdfunding for themselves. And I'll tell you where it's come from, different things that I've seen, but number one thing, we've seen a lot of stories where you'll see someone crowdfunding for themselves, and they may have cancer, they may have a different situation, maybe close to homelessness, and we all listen to their stories, and we donate, and then there's a story about it, even on the news, about, like, oh, so far we're having a drive for this person to help raise money, and then maybe a few months, sometimes a few years later, we find out that that story was completely fabricated and made up. And it does something to us. And this is why I was uncomfortable saying it, but it is the truth, where I'm like, when those types of things happen, and it happens way too often, there's a residual skepticism when you hear about somebody else crowdfunding for themselves. Not someone doing it for an organization or doing it for someone they saw in the grocery store who needs help, when they're doing it for themselves, and I think we're all kind of feeling that. Those stories stay with you, even though listen, we know that the gap between the rich and the poor is widening, but there's something about when someone is doing this, it's like, is this the new digital panhandling? Is this what, are you gonna abuse our emotions again? Because I can't take that.
I get what you're saying.
That's what it is.
Totally. And listen, there's scammers everywhere. For anything, there are rich scammers and there are poor scammers. Like, there are scammers everywhere. I think the challenge here is, if you're not going to throw in, let's say, the $20, and they end up on the street and then having to tap into the public welfare system, we're paying for them anyway. We're going to pay. So we're either into helping community or we're not. And I hope that, it's sad, but I hope that it's not pride. I mean, you talked about your mom, right? It's like, I get that it would be the hardest thing on the planet for someone to say, I need help. And what if they don't have a support system? And this is literally the difference between them being with a roof over their head or not. Listen, 15,000 people in 5 months in Canada, that's not a blip. That's not a blip. That there is something, and I will.
Where does government
Thank you.
wear some of the responsibility of stepping in as well to deal with the affordability crisis, to deal with the gap between the rich and the poor, to deal with, like, tax breaks and incentives for businesses? Like, I know this is a really fraught conversation, but multiple reports have shown that we're losing the middle class, and that has an impact. So I think that young people are really feeling this, but we're also seeing it at the end of life stages, where people are struggling to make ends meet. Seniors, all that kind of thing. So again, community matters, and we do need to step in, but at the same time, it makes you wonder, if you keep on going down that road, does it let the government off the hook? Does it allow them to ignore it as well?
The private sector.
It's a good question.
The private sector has a huge role in this, though, right? Like, I mean, I think about even the price of food. So if I'm going to go buy a double thing of raspberries in the Yukon, that's $14. Now, that's in Whitehorse. We're not even talking about the rural communities in, like, Arctic, Nunavut, Iqaluit, Rankin Inlet, all of those communities. So, like, this is doubling down in our smaller and more remote communities. And so I absolutely feel that corporate entities, like you look at Loblaw's group, how much are they generating in revenue every single year? It's insane.